Let me tell you a story about a man named Daniel. He wasn't famous, not rich, not an influencer. He was a 48-year-old night security guard, working 2 jobs just to make ends meet and take care of his sick daughter at home. Through all the exhaustion, all the quiet nights spent walking empty hallways, he never once complained. He never missed a single shift. He was the definition of reliable. Until one night, the alarm system failed. A glitch, a system error, something completely out of his control. But when something goes wrong, a company often looks not for a reason, but for a scapegoat. And Daniel, the quiet man who just did his job, was the easiest target. The next day, they called him into the main conference room. Not a private office, but the big glass room where everyone could see. His managers were there, their faces like stone. Even some of his co-workers, the ones he'd shared coffee with during long nights, were watching. The head of security pointed a finger at him and said, his voice echoing in the tense silence, "You failed in your responsibility." Daniel tried to explain. He was shaking, but he found his voice. He told them the cameras had malfunctioned earlier in the night, that the access logs were corrupted. He presented the facts as he knew them. But they weren't interested in facts. They had already made their decision. They didn't care. The manager cut him off. "You're terminated. Effective immediately." And then, the worst part. Someone in the room, one of his own colleagues, recorded it on their phone. A small, cruel chuckle rippled through the air. In that moment, Daniel stood there, his hands trembling, utterly humiliated. It wasn't about losing the job, not really. It was about the way they stripped him of his dignity, erasing years of faithful service in a single, brutal moment. They treated him like he was nothing. He was handed a small cardboard box to clear out his locker. He walked out of that building, past the staring eyes, carrying the few things that defined his long nights there. Inside the box was his old thermos, a framed photo of his smiling daughter, and a small, well-worn Bible with pages so soft they felt like cloth. He got into his old car but didn't start the engine. He just sat there in the parking lot, the box on the passenger seat beside him. He couldn't go home yet. He couldn't bear the thought of his daughter seeing his face, seeing the defeat in his eyes. He leaned forward, rested his forehead against the cold steering wheel, and the weight of it all came crashing down. In a quiet whisper, a prayer broke from his lips, not of anger, but of surrender. "I don't understand this, but I trust you." And at that exact moment, something extraordinary happened back inside the building he had just left. The entire surveillance system, the one that had glitched and failed, suddenly rebooted. Not slowly, not with a flicker. It came back online instantly, every camera, every server, and with it, all the footage was restored, every single file clear as day. The restored video showed everything. It showed the system didn't just glitch, it showed the real cause. A senior executive, one of the men who had been in that conference room, had remotely overridden the security protocols. It wasn't Daniel's failure. It was deliberate sabotage, a calculated move to cover up internal fraud he was committing. The board of directors was alerted immediately. They saw the footage, they saw the truth. And in the corporate world, the truth, once revealed, can spread faster than any lie. The news moved like wildfire through the company's channels. By the next morning, that same executive wasn't pointing fingers in a conference room. He was being escorted out of the building in handcuffs. The whispers weren't about Daniel's supposed failure anymore. They were about the executive's spectacular downfall. Then Daniel's phone rang. It was the CEO. An apology, sincere and deep. An offer to return to his job, with back pay for his troubles. But here's the part of the story that no one saw coming. The part that truly shows how things can turn around. Daniel politely declined the offer to return to his old post, because he had received another call. One of the board members, a man who had witnessed the entire humiliating spectacle and then saw the undeniable proof on the video, had been deeply moved by the injustice. He called Daniel personally and offered him a new position. Not just any position. It came with double the salary, better hours that allowed him to be home with his daughter every night, and a full medical insurance plan that would cover all of her treatments. A few weeks later, Daniel walked back into that same building. He wasn't carrying a small box. He was wearing a sharp suit. He didn't go to the security locker in the basement. He went to a corner office on an upper floor. He returned not as the night guard, but as the new regional security supervisor, overseeing the very system he was once blamed for. And as he walked through the halls, no one laughed. No one snickered. There were just silent, respectful nods, because they all understood. When heaven decides to defend you, it doesn't just restore what was lost. It elevates you. It doesn't just clear your name. It restores your honor in front of the very people who witnessed your humiliation. This story is a powerful reminder that even when you feel you've hit rock bottom, when you're misunderstood and mistreated, holding on to your faith and integrity matters. You might not see the bigger plan in your darkest hour, but there are forces at work that you cannot imagine. Vindication might not come when you want it, but when it does, it can be more powerful and more complete than you ever dreamed. So if you're going through something unfair right now, remember Daniel. Hold on. Your moment of restoration might be just around the corner. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. Until next time, stay strong and keep the faith.